Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Buy Round Interview Show. Today we are joined by current NRLW superstar Millie Elliot. So many areas of the NRLW I want to unpack with you, and also your story, your life, that I'm really looking forward to hearing from you about. First off, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. I know I obviously do up front under the buy round. We follow you wherever you are, but it's good to be on the buy round.
Yes, well, we'll come up with all the grilling questions. We were talking before we started the show, your current situation, which is huge news in any person's life. How are you sort of dealing with, I guess, the changes both like internally and externally as well?
So I'm 14 weeks pregnant as of now, which is, I just feel firstly really grateful and just I feel very honoured that I'm able to have a child. I know that sounds silly, but a lot of people in sport and a lot of people that, you know, when it doesn't happen for everyone and it does take a lot of time and it is quite a sensitive topic. So I do feel just really grateful and blessed that I was able to fall pregnant. So that's one of the things. For many athletes, it's not as easy because of the training demand and their cycle and lining everything up. So you just think that it's going to happen, but you hear plenty of stories with your friends that it doesn't. So that's, I feel, a little bit of a touchy kind subject sometimes, but I do feel, just very lucky to be in the position I'm in. Everything's safe and doing well. The first trimester, which is the first 12 weeks, I thought I'd be like, you know, I'm fit and I'm healthy, I'll be fine. People say that they, you know, get sick and whatever. And honestly, it rocked me. And I think Adam was quite surprised too. I wasn't like throwing up or anything, but I was so tired. I was nauseous. I just had barely any energy. But I think every time you go for a scan and you realise you're actually growing a child, like it obviously takes so much from you, and hormones and whatnot, it's all just another learning curve. But it's just a very exciting time. It
is an exciting time in any couple's life.
How many kids do you have?
I got two daughters who are 9 and 6, which tests me. But I think back and you think just how amazing it was. And obviously on my side, being the dad, it didn't affect me much. But there were some things around being an athlete that probably most people wouldn't do. Some things that maybe looking back, I would have changed about the birth itself. But just for you, obviously, you get this great news and you're in probably a position of only a very, very select few group of people or group of women that go, yay! And then, oh, hang on, this is going to affect my...
everything.
It's not work, because I'm looking at you, I've seen your journey, and I know what the athlete's like, where this is more than a job. It's a sense of purpose. It's something that you love to do. You play in the middle. You're all action style of play. You want that confrontation. You're going to have to not sacrifice, but put that away.
Put that aside. Yeah, I guess it's and for me, I want to go back and play next year. So I feel like if it was like me, this was it, and girls didn't play past, you know, having a baby, then I feel like I would be a lot more devastated. And you do see girls put their careers on hold in sense of footy because they don't want to stop playing and they don't want to take that time out, and also they might not have that support there, or many, many reasons, or they just can't stop playing. They love it so much. So, and obviously with men, and my dad used to play, and my uncle, and like from my cousins and myself, knowing that whatever week of pregnancy it is, or whether it's around the birth or whatever, they're still going out and playing, and then they get to hold their kids on the footy field after the game, and it's like they've literally done not much not much, but it's like obviously that physical carrying and labour
bearing the brunt of
is quite intense. And so it's going to be much different this year in that sense that I'm not playing at all. But then when I come back next year, hopefully everything goes well, I'm going to have a child with me as well. And it's we train at night times. There's lots of things around that. Adam's going to have to be very good at nighttime routines on his own because I'll be at training or...
Good luck.
Yeah. Like there's so many things that we haven't even thought about yet, but I'm sure will come up on the way. But for now, we're just really excited and I've always wanted to have a family. I'm one of 5 kids and I've always wanted to have kids. And if footy wasn't, in my path, and if it wasn't something I was doing right now, then I probably would have had kids earlier because it's something that I've always wanted to be a young mum. My mum's had 5 kids by the time she was 29, 30. So it's something I've always loved, and it's just a new challenge for Adam and I, and he's really excited too. We've had he's got a little 4-year-old, Lenny, so we have him from time to time and definitely tests out the patience and gets us learning from here and there. But yeah, just really excited and yeah, can't wait.
Obviously, when we brought this up off air about postnatal depression, and it's this bundle of joy, but it is incredibly difficult and challenging at times. But because of the rarity of your situation, is this something that you've sort of considered seeking, I guess, professional help to help you navigate this process? Because you missed the Vegas game. Yeah. You're gonna be sat there watching
everyone run around and have fun while I get fat.
And you are sitting there going, and it's obviously, it's not the end.
No.
But it's almost not too dissimilar to like a severe injury or maybe not a big suspension, but a severe or almost like a mini retirement.
Yeah.
Which I can remember watching my first game after I retired and going, oh.
Why did I retire?
Oh, God, this is awkward. This doesn't make me...
Doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I feel like it's probably... I'm very optimistic about it all, and I do know that, and there are incredible people out there when it comes to needing help and prenatal and postnatal depression. And I will definitely surround myself with those people. I've got some already amazing people that, I can lean on for that. Through my obstetrician and that network. But I feel like I just feel really lucky. So like right now I'm not thinking of what could go wrong or like what, and I know that kind of stuff happens, and I know that it's a large male audience that listen to this, but if their partners have gone through that kind of stuff too, it happens to everyone, and it doesn't just impact the person who's got it. It impacts the people around them as well. And it can happen to anyone for literally no reason at all. And it's a horrible, horrible thing. But I just think surrounding yourself with those people and getting that support early just in case, and having those people there, knowing who they are. And
Have you reached out to any other female athletes that have gone through something similar where they've had to put their sporting careers on hold for a certain amount of time? Yeah,
well, I was lucky at the Roosters. We've got some incredible mums who have had babies, taken the year off, come back, and when they come back, they're just in ridiculous form. There's actually, and those people are Corbin Baxter and Semi Bremner, but there's actually studies. Jana Pittman, Jana Pittman, she's the dual Olympian for summer and winter Olympics. She is a doctor, a mum of 6. Maybe
yes,
she actually went on SAS the season before me.
The name, yes. Now you put that story, I do know of them, yes.
So she's a female, midwife, doctor, gynecologist, everything. And the studies that have actually been done, and I listened to her speak at an event a couple of years ago, but the studies that are done when women return to sport after they have a baby, like their levels of everything are so much higher. They can run faster, they can push more, they can lift heavier, they can
Really?
endure that lactic for a longer period of time, because they've gone through, like, the hormones that you get from childbirth and from pregnancy stay with you. And if you tap into that at the right time, like if you have the right support to make sure you're staying fit and you're not just sitting on the couch the whole pregnancy and then afterwards, and if you're actually, you know, making a conscious effort, it's proven that you can actually outdo what you did previously.
Well, I guess as well, look, if you can endure childbirth, you know, what's another marathon?
Seriously.
Like, what's another 2K run?
Exactly.
Like,
I can't believe so. Like, it's actually insane when you think about how extravagant childbirth is and being pregnant, and so many people do it. Like, it's just incredible. Like, I walk around now thinking, everyone's been pregnant here. You know what I mean? Like half the people I see are pregnant. They've all got kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so, I think being around footy, you don't see it as much, obviously, but now that that's my new thing, I see it a lot.
How do your teammates react to the news? Because I'm thinking with my football brain, and my athlete brain, my competitive brain, our best front rower is out for the year.
Yeah.
Like, and look, I'm really pleased for you. But could have done with you on the field.
Yeah, look, I did. I told my coach, I have a really good relationship with my coach, John Strange, and I did tell him quite early, because that to allow him to look for another player and to obviously just be transparent with that whole situation, because it's quite new navigating that, because it doesn't really happen, and I'm on a multi-year contract, so it's in the middle of my contract. But as far as all the girls, like, so supportive, all the staff, everyone just so kind and really just excited for me. I feel like because we won last year too, it was like a nice, it's bittersweet this year, obviously, not being able to play, but it's like, I'm so glad we got to do that together. And this was just the right timing for me, and I want to go back next year. That's the thing. I feel like because I'm going back, it's no worse than really having a major injury.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that's how I start to think of it. I'm like, if I did my ACL, touch wood, that's a terrible way to look at it, but I'd be out for the year, and then I would actually be depressed, because I wouldn't be being.
There's no upside. There's no
like I'm not playing because I'm having a baby.
Not a life-changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Event that's taking place.
Yeah, I feel like I think about it like that. I'm like, it's only one season. Like, I'm grateful and lucky that I'm in the middle of I've got a contract. And
just on that, having a contract, how important is that for you to have that security going into it? Where, I mean, the levels of anxiety, anybody that's off contract is enough. All that uncertainty that surrounds an athlete's life. But just how important is that for you so you can, with comfort, step back knowing you're going to get back in there?
It's massive. It's something that got done in the last CBA, and a lot of people were pushing for it. And I tell people, I'm like, hey, it's so good. We've got this new thing in our CBA that we still can hold our contracts, while if we have a baby and then we return back. And people just say to me, like, yeah, that's what every workplace is. You know what I mean? But it's never been like that in rugby league. I think it's not so much having your contract in terms of money. It's more so knowing that you're going to be supported and you'll be back playing next year. It's not like you're year to year and you're looking for a contract and then, they're not happy with your form, so you don't get, it's not like you're worrying about that. So that's not a stress. And it's a very big relief and weight off the shoulders. But in saying that, starting a family and having baby was completely it's something Adam and I really wanted. So I would have, even if I didn't have a contract, I would have a baby and then look at, and then just work hard and cross that bridge when it came. But the fact that it's there is it's a weight off the shoulders, and it's also just feels like I'm allowed to do this, not like it's frowned upon, It's what women are put on this earth to do. So it's nice to be able to do that without I
understand that. I'm it's impossible to put myself in your shoes, but be a lot to digest and a lot to process. And even thinking back from times I was unable to play either through suspension or injury, like the anxiety levels kicked in because who's taking my spot?
Yeah.
Like all these things I'm thinking about, trying to put myself in your shoes, and this is such a unique, rare situation that I'm really pleased, because we are in a place of work when you're an athlete in NRL, and there are differences, nuanced differences, obviously speaking, but it's great to see or hear that you've got the support that you deserve fundamentally.
And I feel like, you know, as female athletes in the NRLW, we started so small. We started with 4 teams. There's now 12 teams, which is incredible. But footy was always a priority, but it was always on the side. So we've always had things on the side, like our whole careers, even now. Like now the comp's getting bigger, there's more games, there's more origins, there's more awareness, there's more exposure. But we still, like, I don't think anyone's just solely relying off playing footy as their main form of income, and also of things to do. Like there's a whole...
It would be the thing upon which the axis of your world spins.
Yeah.
Right? So
absolutely.
I know you've got other things going on. You and all your Roosters teammates, all the NRLW players, I think they'd prioritise football, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as it might not be the be-all and end-all of life, it's
still the number one priority.
Yeah.
You're like, there's no one missing training. There's no one turning up late. There's no one pulling out for any reason in any drill. Like it's definitely the priority once it's on. And even in, you know, before we start our technical pre-season, you're still doing sessions, you're still keeping fit, you're still meeting up, you're still doing sessions with your club. Like you're still doing all of that, but you're like, it's great to have things on the side as well, because I probably don't feel as like I'm not overthinking, oh no, will I get back? Like I'm just enjoying this time for right now and using that for other opportunities to work within the sport, and also with my foundation, and knowing that it'll be different next year because I'll be back playing, but I'll also have a baby. I won't be able to work as much. So I'm just taking the opportunities when they come, and yeah.
Well, we're going to touch on a few of those areas a little bit later.
Yeah.
Vegas, the Jillaroos played England.
Yeah.
First off, what did you make about the event, including an NRLW international fixture?
Look, I think it's great that they saw the success from last year and they saw it grow, and there was 2 teams last year, there was 4. I think 4 games in one day is too many. Just like, think of Magic Round. Like people are coming and going. Like I think I went and sat and watched one day of Magic Round, and I love footy, but it was just too much. Like, so I think if you're going to have 4 again, then maybe a Friday night and a Saturday, so that people can go back and forth and break it up a little bit. I know obviously the Jillaroos, they pumped England, and I was saying this before, it was really underwhelming because Australia were very, very good, and that's what you get for having a part-time professional team come up against an amateur team. And I didn't like, they play in the Super League over there, you would know, like they follow the Super League, they play in a competition. I'm guessing it's similar to the NRLW, but the standard is obviously nowhere near. And the speed of it, the skill level of it, it's very, very different. And when you're in those games, and I've been in those games, you know, when you're winning like that, and it's not enjoyable at all. And what are you going to do? Like, take the foot off the brake? Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to keep going. Obviously, it was a bit of a flop, I guess, in terms of the game, because it wasn't an entertaining match, which was disappointing. But Australia and England hadn't played each other since 2017.
Yeah.
And back when they did play each other, it was probably a really good game, because it was before the NRLW came in to its fruition, and they played at the World Cup in 2017 when all the girls were amateur, and the skill level was a lot less. And the tackling and the speed and the athletes. Everything has changed since then for us, and I don't think much has changed for them. And that just comes down to the level of investment in our game, and also the amount of teams now that we've got, and the junior girls that are playing. So I don't know. What do you take of it?
For 4 games, if they were all competitive, it's okay. But also, I think people make the mistake of watching the game, where when I always tell people this: when you go to Magic Round, even 3 games, 2 games, if it's not your team playing, just watch a player.
Yeah, okay.
So instead of watching the Jillaroos play the England women, just watch Tamika. Keep your eyes on Tamika, and that's it.
Yeah, and she'll score watch 5 tries.
Watch her movements. Obviously, she scored plenty of tries. Or if you're a young aspiring centre, watch Jess Surges.
Yeah.
And just watch the off the ball movements. And if you go to Magic Round, and so you're not a Penrith fan, just watch Isaiah.
Yeah.
Just have almost a singular focus on him or Nathan Cleary or Dylan Edwards to appreciate the work that's done. I think not enough people watch the game like that. I think it makes it more interesting to watch one particular player, especially when you don't have a stake in the game.
Especially if you're there and you can keep eyes on that player the whole time. So obviously different television.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think it's a great learning experience for anyone to go and watch an individual play, almost like a talent scout.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you've been given this assignment, let's watch them.
That's a very footy enthusiast thing to say.
Well, I think it's a good learning curve for any fan. It's an educational piece to say because we all love the highlight reels, but there's things that happen that people don't notice.
And on the telly, you're following the ball.
Yeah.
But if you're watching Nathan Cleary, for instance, you're looking at him move players, set people up, telling them literally showing them which hole to run in, what he's going to do, organising what side, switching late. You don't see that unless they've got player cam on and you can click the red button.
Do you think the Jillaroos will be a victim of their own success?
Yeah, I do think they will be. I think there's other ways to do it. I'm not sure how that is. I think it's great that they did include the girls this year, but I know hours after the game they were already talking about axing that game. And I just don't think it did the game justice.
No, it didn't.
It wasn't like... our domestic games are much better than that because they're a lot more even, they're a lot more competitive because, to be honest, an NRLW team would beat the England international team quite easily.
Yes.
And that's just the level that we're at.
Teams,
So if you're going to do it, I think it's probably you do it NRLW versus NRLW or...
Could you do... Obviously, with the scheduling of Origin.
Yeah. I don't think... I heard a few people toss up Origin, but I just don't think that's what Origin's about. It's not a round one or it's not an opening. It's not a rival. It's for Queensland and New South Wales. And we've actually built up a really great supporter base of people coming to watch women's rugby league, especially women's Origin right now. And to take that away from people who are going with their kids and their families or the daughters or whatever, it's. I feel like it's growing too much in Australia to take it to Vegas just for a throwaway tokenistic game. I think we need to grow it in Australia and New South Wales and Queensland and keep that original form. And it's not just I
have not thought of it like that.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of. It's a high stake, high pressure game because we treat it like that. It is the first game of the year for many people, so it's also that's another bridge to cross. But I just don't think it's the type of the prep and everything that goes into being overseas. It's more serious than that.
Well, obviously the Jillaroos dominated, but you watching on, and obviously unable to play.
Yeah.
So Jillaroos smashed them without their best front rower. And that's the first time you've experienced this. What obviously delighted. What was it like to sit at home and watch?
Yeah, well, I was working at Channel 9 and to be honest, obviously the whole experience of being in Vegas and the fact they were included in that and, flying over business and whatever. Like, that's like luxe as. And I was like, are you kidding me? When I played for Australia, we were playing in Parramatta and now they're going to Vegas. Yeah. Like, that was annoying. But also it was my decision. Yeah. And it was something that if I'm not there, it's because of this incredible thing that I'm doing. Yeah. So I'm so like, it wasn't bittersweet in that way. Maybe when the comp starts, I think, like, and just that grind of being with your team and your favourite team to be in is your club team because you're around them so much. So maybe when that starts, I'm sure I'll get plenty of it. But also knowing that I'm going back to it, it gives me like that hope, and knowing I'll be back there.
You said about the growth of the NRLW here in Australia since that last World Cup in 2017. It's skyrocketed in so many areas in terms of professionalism, exposure, player ability, skill level, too many areas to include. Yeah. What would a young Millie think sitting there as a before preteen girl think when of witnessing what we're witnessing in current day?
Oh, it's honestly... It's so surreal to think where we are at now, considering the NRLW started 6-7 years ago. I played rugby league from the age of 5, up until under 12s for my local club, and I played with the boys, and I know we hear this story all the time, and then when they turn 12 they can't play anymore. I actually did play a game of under 14s. My dad was coaching my brother's team and they were short. And our team, like, we were just a small little country team. We got flogged all the time. And they were short. So he called me up to play on the bench. And I thought, this is I can show them I can play past the age of 12. Anyway, I came off the bench. I was probably on for less than 2 minutes. I got absolutely ragdolled. Like, I've never been in so much pain. It was horrible. Like, these boys are boys now. They're not just like little kids that I was used to playing against. And I really did think that that'd be my last game of rugby league. Yeah. Because I thought, oh, well, like that it was just, I was just like, yeah, it was disappointing. I loved footy.
That was the roadblock.
But that was it. I was like, that's it. Like, it's been a good run. It's been fun. But now, like, you couldn't even put into words like what it would be like seeing women actually play footy on a professional stage. Like, never ever would have predicted that would have been a possibility. It was more likely that I would have had to shave my hair off and keep my monobrow, and play as a guy than there would be in a whole women's competition. So yeah, it's crazy how far it has come. And I played a lot of rugby union in high school, which I was lucky enough to. It took me the whole, from year 7 to 12, to actually learn the bloody rules. It's a different game, that one. But I was lucky that I still had that and had those friends and that team environment and was able to play, because I've actually never stopped. Like, if I wasn't playing rugby league, I was playing rugby union, and then I came straight back over to rugby league in 2019.
What gives you more joy? Seeing the NRLW become this leader in female sports here in Australia, or driving around and seeing young girls on playgrounds, on ovals, playing the game, and thinking back to your time where you thought that roadblock had hit, and in all forms of the game, from touch to Oztag to full contact, which fills you with more joy?
Oh, definitely seeing the girls play footy now. Like, it's crazy to think girls can play in an age group just with girls all the way up until women's footy. Like, it was very few and far between of players. Like, before, like, you'd have girls that would stop at 12, and then some people would play touch or other sports, and then there might have been some random women's games here and there, like in the bush, and but you were playing as a 15-year-old in the women's competition. Like, it was it's very different. And yeah, to see now girls play and we've got professional competitions, like they're playing under 14s at school, and then there's under 16s with clubs. You can play for the Roosters under 16s girls team, just like boys, like they've got great coaches, they've got access to facilities, they've got, resources and coaching that we just never had. Like, it was just, if you really wanted to be there, we used to turn up, and which makes it really special too, because the people, like the friends I've made along the way, and especially in rugby that have led into rugby league, like, you're all playing because you really, really want to be there. It's a Sunday. We've driven, from every country town to get to Canberra. We've flogged ourselves for hours in the morning, and now we're at the traffic lights washing windows to get to like the national tournament. Like, that's just how it was. And we just, it wasn't so long ago that it was like that. And now girls, even young girls, are getting paid now. It's crazy.
It's funny you say that. So I'm one of 7 kids, got 3 older brothers, then me.
You're a middle child.
Then my 3 sisters. And my eldest daughter was asking like about my siblings growing up, and asked if any of my brothers played rugby, because she sort of knows I did play. It's like, oh no, they just didn't really like it, whatever. And she's like, oh, what about Auntie Sarah, Auntie Claire, Auntie Heather? And I was like, oh no. And they were like,
but the fact,
she's like, why? I was like,
it wasn't there.
Because they couldn't.
Yeah.
She's like, did they play soccer? I was like, no.
Yeah.
No. Why?
Yeah.
They just,
so now
they just
it's like it's normal for them to think.
So they play
girls and boys
they
can
play Oz tag.
Yeah.
And it's normal for them.
Yeah.
But like in literally one generation,
how quickly
where
it's
it was
changed.
Not available, and I'm talking like.
Oh, it wasn't.
Just for any, local Saturday, Sunday sporting activity.
You were literally in the canteen. Like, that was that was as close as you got to
brother. You go and watch your brother play. That's about the extent.
That was what we did. And we were in the canteen, and Morgan would be playing, and we would serve the sausage sizzles. Like, that's just how it was. But I loved it. I just loved being a part of it. But it's crazy, like, you just going back to what you were saying about your daughter, is how, like, that's normal for them now. Like, it's if they want to do it or not, it's an option. And it's also, back then it was so frowned upon, like, for girls to play rugby league, and it was very stereotyped. And in such a short amount of time, it has come such a long way, because we're getting the best athletes wanting to play rugby league, and they're bloody good at it.
I think as well, the image of the game has changed. Like, you think, maybe not when I was growing up, well, maybe to an extent, but the image of the game has changed, and less thuggery within the game. It is more of a game of skill, athleticism,
strength,
tactical awareness, rather than
whoever wants to turn up and just throw a swinging arm, or just like be that big run over player and one out footy. Like,
the game has changed
different.
both male and female, but like both of mine play Oz tag, and you watch them go, and it is like, it's surprising that 9-year-olds can do this, and never mind male or female. It's just, it's encouraging, because the NRLW is already accelerating, but with a couple of generations of playing from the age of 5,
it's going to make the competition so much. Like, we're still in the infancy of women's rugby league. We've got girls who are our best players, who had a 10-year gap of not playing any rugby league. We're finally just starting to see girls who haven't had to stop playing footy, come through, and they're in the development, and they'll get contracts, and that'll be all they know. They will be like boys, like, in terms of being scouted at a young age, playing from a young age, and never having to stop.
I can't remember the name of the professor or author who speaks about the 10,000 hour rule to become an expert. And most of those 10,000 hours are gained in your formative years.
So that's when a lot of your development is picked up in a lot of things, let alone sport.
In any domain of life, it's an expert is 10,000 hours. Now, and there are things around early specialisation. Generalists are better than generalists triumph in a specialised world, and all that sort of research. But any form of like physical activity and the correlation between the ability to throw, catch, kick, be
timing,
active, all these different things, that's all going to add into that, because like when you think about those 10,000 hours, like you played to an extent, but think about
cut off.
Like all the things you didn't get to reach this level. This next generation, it's just going to be the potential is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're only going to see better footy, more competitive footy, more teams, more games, and they're going to be like used to doing gym programs from 15 years old per se. Like, we're going to see people in key positions in like spine players nail their craft because they want to be a hooker or they want to be a halfback. They don't just want to be on the field.
Yes.
There's certain elements of the game that will be elevated because of this time they haven't had to stop, and it'll probably just be a bit of upstairs mental stuff that they'll have to catch up on because there's not really any hardship of having to miss out. It's like it's always been there for them. And that's where I think will probably be the only thing that, there'll be people that are really headstrong and mentally strong in that regard. But for someone who's been given it on a silver platter, it's going to be a little bit different for them in that other.
It is. The NRLW, like any sport, would be looking to advance, improve, reach the next frontier. What, in your opinion, is that for the NRLW?
The next thing that...
Like, where's the next...
Advancement.
The next advancement. Where do you think it can go to?
I definitely think...
within your
the
career...
game,
let's say within your career span.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, we're at 35-minute halves. I would love to see it go to 40-minute halves. Are you talking about modifications on the game or a bit of anything?
A bit of anything, on field, off field. Where do you think it should go to?
Yeah, I do think it should go for a little bit longer. So I think where people are fit enough and they're conditioned enough to play 40-minute halves. We play 35-minute halves, and sometimes the back end of those halves are when sometimes the game opens up and things change. So I'd like to see that. But more importantly, probably just more footy. Even if it's not 2 rounds, like we only play every team once. So last year there was 10 teams, so we had 9 rounds and then finals. This year there's 12, so there'll be, you play every team 11, and then there's finals. And this year actually they've got an extra finals game. So before it used to be 1v4, 2v3, and the winner of that would go through to the grand final. And there have been a lot of teams, and I've been a part of that twice, where you are leading the comp and you choke in the semi-final and you are out. You play 1v4 and you're out.
Yeah, it's sudden death football from the beginning.
Yeah, and it's so cutthroat. Like you turn up, or you might have an injury to key player on that one game. There's no break. There's nothing. You don't get the week off. It's just straight into it. And they've finally got an extra game now. So it'll be however they do it.
So it's going to be a top 5 or a top 6?
5 or 6.
But
I'm not too sure. It might be 1v2, the winner, and then the winner gets something like that.
Yeah, there is
whatever
a system,
it is, it's going to show more consistency, and reward the teams. Reward for the teams that have been consistent throughout the year. So that's something that really needed to happen, because every year there was like upsets to the best teams because of that one game.
I guess it does make it exciting though.
Yeah, when you're on the sideline, when you're on the field and you're down and there's 5 minutes to go and you're like, how are we going to get 3 tries in that time?
I know, I mean...
Yeah, no, I know. But I think to showcase a bit more consistency in the game, it is better.
Yeah. Do you think it can get to a point where it is actually... You mentioned around like you train in the evenings. Most NRLW players do have other things happening. Do you think within your career span, it could become fully professional?
Yeah. Look, depending on how long I want to play for, I don't think it'll happen in my career time. I don't think it'll be long after though. I think to train in the morning or during the day would just be so good that'd be amazing for right now, but we can't accommodate. Like a lot of the girls though, I'm talking over half, I think would have that time to do it during the day because you prioritize it. You're not like if you're in a position where you do. So there are people that, need that day to work and then come to training. but I think we could come to something where, but you know how the CBA is and our protected hours, and because we're not making a certain amount of money, you have to allow people to have the option to work. So going back to what you said in my long-winded form answer, I don't think it'll be in my career, but I don't think it'll be too long after. Perhaps in the next CBA, because even if it's half-half, if you're doing some days and some nights, you know, just to mix it up a bit.
Do you think you'll turn into one of those people that are like, oh, back in my day?
No,
tell you what,
I
tell you what, girls, we used to do it tough. Hey,
back in my day,
back in my day, we used to train at night. I tell you what, you've got it lucky.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, I think you've got to make a promise to yourself.
I'm going to make a promise to myself.
Back in my day.
Because there are girls that do that now, and I'm like,
oh really?
Yeah, no. Oh. You know, well, it's just like, yeah, sweet. Back in your day, it's going to be our day too, one day. Yeah. But look, maybe to take the piss, but I don't think you get given what you're given, you know. So it's not like they've chosen, like people haven't chosen the way that they've gotten there. It's just what's been provided. So it's not anyone's fault. So I'm going to make a promise right now. And if you do hear me saying it, call me out on it.
Yeah, I made
Do you say it?
I really make a conscious effort not to.
Yeah.
But like some of, like that Magic Round weekend, the Simbin Frenzy a couple of years ago, and you kind of go, oh, like it. But I've sort of come to the realization it's not about me.
Yeah,
like,
and also the people hearing it don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that would have never been a penalty in my day. It's
Yeah.
well, it is. Like I
it
can
is
say
now.
the game's changed. I'm never going to say it's gone soft because I know the brutality involved. So, but it's.
I know.
Because you fall in love with a version of the game when you're grown up.
and it changes.
And it does change.
Yeah.
And it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not the game. It's not the game for me personally. It's a game for everybody.
Yeah.
And I understand that. Like I said, the game has changed a lot since the 80s, 90s, early 2000s to become
I was watching a game the other day and Joey Johns was blowing up about one of the halfbacks getting hit, you know, as they kicked the ball, and it was a penalty. And I think it was the Roosters-Broncos game. Anyway, and he goes, oh, that was ridiculous. That shouldn't be a penalty. I'm like, but it is a penalty now, Joey, because you're not allowed to touch the kicker, which is just wild. I remember when that rule came in last year, and it was like, so what do? We can run and scare them, but we can't actually interfere with their kick. And I actually even asked the kickers, I'm like, do you even get worried when someone's running at you? Because anyway, we've gone off topic now, but I'm saying it's now a rule.
And the game changes, and whether we like it or not, we have to change with it. Otherwise, we get labelled as dinosaurs, and no one wants to be labelled a dinosaur, do they? So,
no.
You mentioned there about moving from 35-minute halves to 40-minute halves. Any other changes to either the rules or the structure of competition that you feel could advance what we've already seen?
We don't do the 6 to go rule. I don't think it'll be long until it does come in because our game is getting faster. Yeah. They just penalise, or it might come in as an organic, you know, restart, zero tackle, whatever. But it's not like it is traditionally in the men's, and I feel like that could be something that comes in. It says me from the sidelines who's not playing this year, or it's when you're out there, it's
you'll notice.
You're like, God, can someone just drop the ball or something? We need a stoppage. But I think it'll open up the game and reward those teams that are, you know, fit, and those players that take advantage of that, like Tamika Upton, for instance, being aware when it's coming, when the whistle's blown, quick tap, and running into the back of defenders getting back and score it, like a little bit like that 7 style where you see them take advantage of those quick taps. So, I mean, it's a little bit different in terms of that, but you'll run them down and they'll end up, you know, they'll be on the back foot the whole time. So, and teams are just going to have to get used to it. We're not going to adapt unless we change.
Exactly.
You know, so you can't say one thing and say we wouldn't be able to do it or we would be. You've got to just do it. And
do you think that the women's game needs to follow the men's game, or can it take its own trajectory and maybe do something different? Like, does it need to follow what the men has done? Like, does it need to be the same?
I think in aspects, yes, because we've got to keep the tradition of rugby league there. But in saying that, we want to also grow the audience. Like half the population are female.
Yeah.
Like let's do something that will appeal to more women watching the game, girls watching the game, like whatever that is. Like we don't have to be doing the same thing. Like even now that we've got our own, and people say you should play before the men in Origin, and it's like, well, hold on. We actually want to build our own audience, and we have our own, Thursday night slot for people to watch, and no one else is playing. We're in prime time, so that's growing the audience. People don't think of it like that. They just think, oh, it'd be good because then if we were at the men's game, we could watch your game. And it's like, yeah, but people aren't paying $300 a ticket to come and watch us just yet. So like we're aware of that. We know that, and we're trying to grow that audience of people who want to watch us. So I don't know what the measures are that we would do to
because even like I think of the Super League, and they have a different set of rules to the NRL for a multitude of different reasons, and then we have the international rules of the game as well, which both all nations have to abide by. But the Super League and NRL are refereed differently, different competition structures, and no doubt the NRL is the more successful of the two competition, but I think there's other reasons behind that. But is there anything else you think that the girls or the women's competition can do
in terms of rules
or something that maybe suits the female athlete?
You got me thinking.
To excel? Like I think it's worth why. Obviously, the NRL men's competition is successful, but is it worth copy and pasting, or is it worth going, hang on, we could do something arguably better or better suited to us as a competition?
It's a really good question. I actually haven't really thought about that. I don't know. Have you got anything?
Well, I don't know. Like we could talk about field sizes. You talked about the
ball size. Yeah, no, we have
ball size.
We have,
like I don't necessarily agree with the copy and paste and like aspire to be this. Yeah. It's like, or even equal to, like, let's be better.
Yeah, let's do it in our own way.
In our own way. If it's going to suit because sport has become a product and it's about entertainment. Like, how can you
make it a better product?
Maximize your audience by just tweaking a few things. Like you don't need to be necessarily the exact same.
Well, that was something, and we spoke about it a bit on our podcast last season about the ball size and how that would change the game a bit in terms of handling. And, you see wingers in the men's game put down the ball with one hand in the corner doing incredible tries, and like that's harder for a girl because guess what? Their hands are never going to be the size of a men's hand. Yeah. There's so many ways that it can be interpreted, and I know a lot of people are against it as well because they want to be treated the same. But I see it like you just said. It doesn't have to be the same. It can be. We can make the product better. Yeah. But I don't know. Some people are against it. Some people are for it. But I guess until we try it, we won't really know. But I do think a smaller ball, just like literally half a size smaller, just for that grip. You might see more offloads. You'll see less errors. You'll see better tries. You'll see. I don't know how it impacts kicking.
I guess it's a complex decision.
Yeah.
Because there's pros and cons. There's no right answer, wrong answer, and for all the benefits it brings, there would be some people that would hang on to the fact that it's different and therefore.
Whatever it may be. I remember having this, like I said, convo last year, and I was like, I'd rather play 40-minute halves instead of 35-minute halves and have a bit of a smaller ball so we see, like I said, less errors, more offloads, better tries. Like, what? So we're already adapting the game in terms of the time on the field. Obviously, we also have the 40-30 instead of a 40-20. Like, there are certain rules that are adapted. For women, just because of like physiologically they aren't. We're not as strong as men. We're not as fast and as athletic because that's just not within our DNA to be like that. And I actually hate when people compare and say, "Oh, well, you know, how would they go against the men's team? It's like, yeah, we would get absolutely pumped in the first tackle of a men's. Like,
well, comparison is the thief of joy.
Exactly.
I don't, and this is kind of my point. It's like, why compare? You've got an opportunity to
showcase
be
what
on the
we
track,
are.
but almost just divert a little bit for what's good for you as a game, for a sport. Yes, it's under the same umbrella, but you can go just...
We can make...
you can
fit it more towards
a more bespoke...
Yeah.
You know, Rugby League, Rugby Union, Super League, they're different, but they appeal. But NRLW and NRL, like, does it need to be on that same path? I don't know. I think it would be worthwhile for I guess a group of people, or like a workshop, to get together and actually go
get the players' thoughts,
get the players'
coaches,
coaches, broadcasters, fans, like
a
bit of a working group of the leaders in the industry to go.
Might be on something,
how
Jimmy.
Can we go from where we are? Like, let's give ourselves a pat on the back. We're doing really well. Where's this next frontier? Like I speak about, and then we'll go to the one after that. But in the next 5 years, what can we do to enhance? I hate saying the product because that's not what I play.
I know,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, and like I said, we're still growing in our. We're not at the end goal yet, so we still are the product of getting there.
Yes.
You know, it's very different. The men have been playing. I think they had their was it like 100th year of their schoolboys game like not long ago, and when the girls had their first. So like, we're essentially 100 years behind, you know, in terms of the game. But there are plenty, like you said, there are plenty of things we can do to still make it an entertaining and game of its own.
One of the things I think that should be considered is suspensions, because it's disproportionate to the number of games. So if you are, say, grade 3, and
instead of missing 3 games, like the comp's a third of the
you get disproportionately punished.
And
I know to find balance with foul play.
Yeah, I know they are trying to, like, at the start. I swear to God, we were playing 4 games, and at the start it was literally the same, and we had girls in round 1 get like a suspension and miss the grand final. And we were like, this is a joke. But no, at the time also no one cared because it was still like very new. Nobody knew the players. Nobody understood. But it was like, this should be literally divided by 6. They should miss 1 half. So I guess they are definitely trying, and we do have people from whatever they are, the judiciary, come in and present how they award things, and if it's careless, and if it's whatever, there's all the terminology for it, and they show examples, and there's new things like the hip drop and things like that. So it is definitely a smaller scale of what the men's get, but I don't think it's definitely not black and white.
We spoke about some of the possibilities and some of the potential. What are some of the barriers or roadblocks standing in the way, do you feel, of the female game accelerating?
You're really throwing all the hard questions at me here, Jimmy.
Come on.
Look, the barriers, I think, are the audience of people, the male spectators and fans that help grow the game. They do, because by people watching, it grows the game. Viewership. It's not so much the people attending the games. It's more on viewership, and it's more on the, I guess, around the views and comments of men, and not just men, but people who don't think women should play footy, because it's means there's a ceiling there, and it means that they've obviously heard that from someone, and they're influencing people around them that's the go, and then it's hard for us to grow. Whether, like, I don't know, if you've watched the men's game and then the women are playing, just leave the TV on for the viewership, for God's sakes. Like, I feel like that's probably right now it's growing at a good pace because we're entering teams when we should. We're not going too big too quickly. And I think the AFLW have gone too big too quick and they've lost a lot of their quality competition. And I know a lot of the girls think that as well. They straight away went to like 18 teams, which is just insane. And I think our product is there. Most of the time, sometimes you see blowouts, but you see that in the men. Like look at round 1. We saw 50 points get put on teams, and that is just insane to think they're both professional teams.
Yeah.
And
we saw some not particularly entertaining games.
Yeah. And so it's like, remember that does happen.
Yeah.
And when it happens in men, and when that happens in women's games, it also happens in men, but we're not full time. They're all under the same, training and they've all got access to the same things. And there are things that are holding women back in terms of, they might be having kids, or they might be at uni, they might be working, or whatever it may be, caring for someone. Not to say men don't do that, but it's generally more of a full-time job for women. Yeah. But I think there's just the views around old school.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, where people just think
it's just like, I mean, there's still I'll still get messages like that I honestly could not give two flying fucks about, from people saying, nobody gives a fuck, what are you doing? Like, get back in the kitchen. That doesn't look like a kitchen. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I literally couldn't care less. But what are you doing on my page? It is what it is. But I'm like, I really hope you don't have daughters or like a wife or like a sisters or a mum that actually.
For me, that comment to those type of comments to anyone just seem largely put. And
I'm like, come up with something original.
Well, to be honest, I don't think no matter where you get to, that's ever going to go away. Unfortunately, it exists in all walks of life where people almost take a joy in trying to ridicule, put people down.
Yeah, and it's because they might get likes on a comment, or they get hype around it, or they're the first one, and they just try to think what everyone else is thinking and say what people don't want to say, and it's like, actually you're off the mark, but whatever.
Yeah, and to be fair, stupid comments happen, like I say, in the men's game.
In men's, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And even I make them, I'm like, geez, my nan could have scored that.
No, I know. Yeah, and I do that. I do that too. I think I literally use the term, when the Jillaroos were playing the other day against England, like, it looks like boys against men, but I meant, obviously women against girls, but the expression is, and like that stuff is, I don't see the harm in, and I know there are comments that get taken way out of context, but the intent, it's not like we're, the intent is.
On that Jillaroos v England game, I was thinking my nan could have done a better job. Get her out the nursing home and
seriously.
Throw a jersey on her. She might have done it. She might, all due respect, and obviously that
when you're an Englishman, you can say that.
Well, again, you say something like that, but how do you say that? It's like,
it's an expression. I would say that if it was a men's game too. I'm not just saying that because they're you're just saying. My Down syndrome sister actually probably could have done better. I can say that. My sister's Down syndrome.
Some things get taken out of context.
Yeah.
And, you spoke before a little bit about your influence with rugby union, and obviously NRLW in competition a little bit with AFLW. How can NRLW win? I don't know if the arms race is the right word, but how can that be? So you've got you've got a host of really talented female athletes that are going to face a choice at some point in time. Obviously the Matildas are flying, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad for NRLW, because there's a lot of young girls that want to be Matildas as opposed to Jillaroos. Yeah. But obviously with what the NRLW week-to-week competition gives them.
Yeah.
And the AFLW
and then Rugby Union.
And how can NRLW win the race between soccer, union, because one thing people say about it, how is the growth of the game in England, I'm talking about the men's, it's like, because people don't want to play rugby league back in England because it's not high profile enough.
Yeah, okay.
So people go, oh yeah, Super League and all this. It's like you've got soccer, cricket, rugby union.
I mean, look at the EPL over there, rugby union. Like even in the women's rugby union team, the Roses in England, they are very, very good. Like they play international matches all the time in Six Nations. They're competitive with the best team in the world. And then you've got like no one's playing rugby league. Like maybe just the rejects of union, which that sounds. But it's probably well,
if you're
rejects is a bad word.
If you've got the athletic ability,
and that one's hard, one's
if you've got
more of an avenue.
Yeah, if you've got athletic ability, you've pretty much got options.
Yeah.
Like a lot of athletic ability lends itself to a multitude of sports. How can the NRLW
be that,
win the race and be the destination for the best female athletes in this country?
To start with, I think that people are going to grow up with their own sport, so that is hard. You know, if someone's grows up in an AFL family or a soccer family, or maybe even for soccer, more parents put their kids into soccer because there's less contact, so that might be a factor, and they want to, you know. But in terms of, if we look at soccer domestically, it's not great. Like it's not. The Matildas have made soccer what it is right now because of the last World Cup, but before that, you don't know anyone in the domestic competitions playing for Sydney FC or Newcastle Jets or Central Coast. Like I wouldn't know any players. Like and it wasn't like it was really a prime time like free to air TV. Like it wasn't really domestically. I think we're above. Above soccer. Above soccer. Obviously, the Matildas trump that when it comes to their international success. But domestically, I think we are a better product to watch. And that's not biased at all. I haven't grown up in a rugby league family and love rugby league, but yes, I have. But AFL, I think, in no fault of their own, I think they have gone too big too quick, and they're catching up, but they actually don't even... They have actually 2 conferences where they play 9 rounds, and then they just go finals. So like they don't actually all play each other once.
Right. Okay.
So it's like they've just done it. AFL have done it to tick the box to say we've got equal, teams, but they actually don't. Like for me, if I wasn't playing every team, I'd feel cheated. Yeah. Like it doesn't feel like it's a real competition. We actually now play more than them, and the comp there's more opportunity because there's more teams and there's more positions available. But I don't think, and seeing this is a rugby league podcast, so it's right, but I wouldn't say this on a public, I'm all for the women's game, but I just think that AFL themselves have gone about it the wrong way in terms of growing it.
So you think league is leading the race at the moment in terms of the women's sports space?
Yeah. I personally, I do think it is. Rugby union, in the 15-a-side, they've still only got 4 teams in Australia, and they play 4 games in their Super W competition. And I used to play for in the Super W competition. Sevens, however, because it's an Olympic sport, like that is, I feel like that's kind of sits in a separate boat. Yeah. They are in a league of their own in terms of the athletes they are. They're incredible, and they are full-time, and they won the gold medal in 2016, and we saw, everything come off the back of their success for women in sport and the funding that was available there, especially in rugby union. But that was definitely kept to the sevens team, not shared across the whole game of 15s. But the sevens, they're incredible athletes. It'd be and a lot of them have come over to rugby league, and a lot of them want to come over to rugby league outside of their, when they're not playing. Yeah. Like they've only got 6 tournaments this year. There's no comm games, and they want to come and play rugby league because it doesn't disrupt their season, and rugby union, rugby Australia won't let them, which is really disappointing because we're actually seeing a lot of New Zealand sevens girls come and play in the NRLW, and particularly now with the Warriors re-entering the competition, we are seeing them also playing in New Zealand in their hometown. Like, it's incredible. And the comp will get better because of those full-time athletes that are coming over to improve our game.
Well, it's a little bit like they draw the. It's a bit like, well, they understand.
They understand.
We're not a war, but we're in competition with one another. Like, okay, well, why would we?
It's going to benefit both.
Well, I get that in terms of the individual, as in the athlete, it would benefit them both. But from a competition, if you're sevens, the last thing you'd want to do is let your athletes go to NRLW.
Yeah, but they would, in terms of a marketing exposure, like they get more awareness in rugby league than they ever do in sevens.
Yeah.
And it's because they're not only not on free to air, they're not even on KO. You've got to have your own Stan Sports subscription to watch rugby sevens. And, you know, it's just another cost and another thing to have. Like, chuck them on KO for God's sakes.
Well, this would be now the consideration of a sevens player to go, I might just forego my seven. That's probably what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Is for somebody in that group to go,
well, I'm breaking,
I'm done.
There's been a lot of girls that have finished up with sevens and come on over. But also current players, I think it'll just get to the point of like, okay, I've done everything there is to do. I've been in World Cups. I've travelled the world plenty of times. Like, it's incredible what they get to do. And that's a massive, massive draw card. You know, I've been able to be a full-time athlete, go to the Olympics, whatever it is. It'll be once I feel like that is ticked off and maybe a sense of accomplishment. And then it's just a whole different game, rugby league. And not that like you said before, playing week in, week out footy is so much fun. And getting to do that every week, not just like every 4 or 5 weeks in a series like they do, I think could be good for them, good for us, good for their profile, good for the game. And then you're seeing talented players come in and make the product better.
You mentioned there about sevens players having done it all. You've done it all. So
I don't think so.
What's next? Like, what have you got to achieve?
For me, it would be to have this baby, stay fit, then get back into where get back to being the player that I was, and be able to do that as a mother. I think that's my next thing.
That's your drive.
That's you mean of achieving what's
you know, you literally.
So doing that isn't enough, are you saying?
No. But
you mean
I know
what's
the
next
athlete
to
mind,
tick
like
off?
the drive, the chasing something that's not been done before.
Yeah.
Like, I know you started in rugby union. Is there any ambition to go back there?
God, no. And I did more rugby. The 15-a-side traditional 15s, which I loved. But I love, like, rugby league is where I belong, and I love everything about rugby league. I mean, I want to come back, and I wouldn't say there's anything I want to tick off, like, in terms of achieving.
Because what is it, four competitions now?
Yeah.
At 3 clubs?
Yeah.
Dally M.
Oh, wow, you've done your research. Yeah.
Like,
yep. No, I feel very content. I feel content. So I think this next chapter is like a new challenge, and then to be able to be playing competitively and not just like, oh, good work, like to actually push further and get back and play and be competitive, like Yeah. And competitive, I mean, like, I still want to win another comp.
Yeah.
Like that's always you don't go into a season thinking, you know, top 5 will be good. It's like, I want to be competitive. I want to push for rep jerseys and I want to out-train the people that are training next to me because I want to be the best in my position. That'll always be who I, you know, am and what I do no matter what I'm doing. So that's always my headspace around that.
And obviously very committed full-time athlete away from the field. You do a lot of juggling, but also with your foundation, the trainer group foundation. Can you just explain to the audience a little bit about the catalyst for that and some of the great work that you undertake for that foundation.
Yeah. So as mentioned before, one of my younger sisters, Hannah, has Down syndrome, and my brother-in-law, Adam's brother, James, has autism, and we both grew up in the same area. Sport was a big thing that we always did on the weekends, and they just got pulled around with us. They'd still be a part of it. They'd be in the same communities as us, and we noticed how much sport was a big factor in their lives and what it meant. So I started Train a Group. It's a health and wellbeing program for young adults with disabilities looking to get back into the community. And the real kind of reason behind that was I saw my sister Hannah finish year 12, and it was like she loved going to school. She loved routine, seeing her friends, teachers, doing her programs, whatever she was doing, she loved it. And then it was like once that's finished, it's like, now what? You know, it's hard enough for anyone, let alone someone with a disability, to get into the real world. Like, she's not going to work like everyone else. She's not going to, and some people do, but it's a lot harder, and some people don't. Like, it just is what it is. So I wanted to create a program where people who had lost that touch of like being included, feeling important, being a part of a community and having routine, and to provide that for people who hadn't had it or hadn't had it in a long time. So is that
specifically for young adults?
Well, that's what we kind of started it as, but we have people of all ages, like seriously all ages. And it's crazy how when it all comes together that it just works. Like, it's so cool to see. I often come home from like running a program and like I'm crying because of what you hear, and it just really puts everything into perspective. Like, my sister Hannah doesn't even know she's got Down syndrome, and she wouldn't know that I run these programs. Like, she doesn't care or know. Like, she's very like on the spectrum. She's not really that understanding. Whereas, you know, to see how much of an impact it does have in some people's lives, and also for Adam as well and his brother, like him knowing that his brother could have had a program like this growing up, like, is very special. And like, I'll come home and tell him stories about, you know, how they all bonded because they were talking about how they got bullied in school, and I'm like there bawling my eyes out. Like, you know, we're just encouraging healthy conversations, healthy habits, healthy lifestyle, you know, being more confident in the community, joining teams, and just to, you know, improve their independence, but in a group environment. And
you started this foundation, but you're also actively involved in running the programs as well. This isn't just like a name.
I'm
to
doing
it.
this one thing. We run.
Getting in the weeds, getting your hands dirty, like getting stuck into it.
I think last year we ran over 50 programs.
Wow.
Across like regional New South Wales, in different schools, in different NRL clubs, and it was incredible. And I did a majority of those programs, but I'm also so lucky that I've got some great help and now co-facilitators that run the programs as well. Liv Koenig, one of my best friends, she helps run them and facilitate them because she's got a connection to working in disability, and that like when it comes naturally to you, it's easy. And she's also a professional sport, like NRLW player. She can tie that in. Got Emma Tonagato, Keely Davis. We've now got some running up in Queensland, and you know, Ali Brigginshaw and Romy Tights. Like, it's so cool now that I can get my friends to help run these programs, and we can reach more people. And there's like, this isn't a plug, but it kind of is. But I'm not going to get started on the NDIS and costs and whatnot, but these programs are free for everybody and their support workers. There's no cost involved whatsoever. Westpac fund all of the programs and allow us to do this. And it's a not-for-profit organisation. We're doing this to help and give back. And like, I'm running these for people like my sister and my brother-in-law who would have loved programs like this, you know, and they live... I don't live near them, so I can't run it for them, but that's a big purpose behind it. And just, you know, people say what they want about organisations that take a lot of money from people, but the fact that they're giving back in this area has been life-changing.
Yeah.
Not only for me, but for the participants, and to give them a purpose of belonging to a group in the community. It's unreal.
That's amazing. That, and even asking you about your aspirations, your goals, and obviously you've got some life-changing events about to unfold, but that must be like, I guess maybe without sport that doesn't exist, and that must be, I guess, almost looking to improve, increase the reach as a bit of a legacy piece for yourself.
I just feel like we've got this opportunity as athletes, you know, you got a foot in the door to be able to grow whatever it is you want to, and use your profile in good ways. Once you retire and once you're done, people don't care. So it's like you may as well get ahead of it, you know, unless you're like Cameron Smith and Billy Slater, like you're pretty, not that you're irrelevant. I feel like, especially as a female, you know, you've got to make hay while the sun shines in terms of doing what you want to. And it's like when you actually step back and realise we've got the best job in the world being a rugby league player, what can we do to benefit from that we love? What's our passion? Yeah. What can we do right now that's going to fulfill me in another way rather than, you know, when rugby league's gone? And I'm lucky that I'm able to do that right now. And it's the best.
It's certainly, the game has opened some doors for you that I can only assume, well, for anybody wouldn't have thought was possible. SAS Australia winner, doing the Kokoda Trail with the Mark Hughes Foundation. Yeah. Like, can you talk to us about some of those experiences, like how you reflect on them?
Yeah. SAS, when did I do that? I think it was the end of, or it might have been 2021, and then it came out in 2022. Yeah. That was the most insane thing I've ever done. Like, in terms of when people say, oh, but was it when the cameras were off? Like, was it all right? Or like, was it as hard as it looked? And I'm like, no, it was 10 times harder, because they can't show everything. They can't show, like, they just want someone to crack and they show that. But the struggle of the whole thing, like, I lost 8 kilos in 2 weeks, and I maybe had a couple of kilos that I could have not done with, but it's intense. Like, they don't feed you for a reason. They want you to get psychologically, and like, you don't barely sleep. You're up on hours of night watch shift, whatever, with people, and you're doing, it's ridiculous. They don't show all this shit. Like, it's crazy. And it's so, like, regardless of how physically hard it is, it's so mental. And I wanted to do it because I'd always been in a team environment where I do this for the team and you put the team first. And it's like, when it comes to that individual, you know, I can pull out if I want to and I'm not affecting anyone. Yeah. Would I do that? And like, I soon learnt, like, no freaking way. I feel like as a rugby league player, and a lot of footy players that have done it have had success. I was in there with Darius Boyd, who also made it to the end. And it's like, not that it's easy, but you just have this mentality of like, well, I'm not giving up. Like, the only way I'm getting out of here is if I take off my arm badge or whatever. And it's like, and Sam Burgess was on the year before, you know, and it's like, yeah, it's bloody hard, and I'm crying every day and I'm so vulnerable and I'm on breaking point a lot, but it's like, I didn't sign up here to just do okay, or like they're going to drag me out, or I'm going to make it to the end. Like, but yeah, it tested me in ways that I never thought I would be tested, and that people don't get tested. But as soon as it was over, it was like the biggest relief, weight off the shoulders. Like, yeah, I'm glad that I made it to the end. Otherwise, I'd probably be a bit bitter about it. But yeah, it was such a different experience. Like, you know, you do army camps and things like that in footy, but like, you don't know how long. Like, it's just the unknowing of like.
How long were you in camp for?
It's 2 weeks. It's 14 days. And I tell you what, day 2 feels like 1 week. Like you do so much within the day. You're up for so long. And just that anticipation. They'll wake you up in the middle of the night and wet you. And then you've got like these things called bee stings where like they'll just flog you up in this big circle with the up and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they won't like little things like they don't let you wear your long sleeve shirt because your elbows and forearms get cut up when you're like crawling across the ground. Like it's actually insane. Like there's no OH&S. There's people like Barry Hall popped a rib and he had to leave. Like it's very
extreme.
It's very extreme and it's a very quick bond you get with everyone real quickly, but you also learn that how much a team that team aspect comes into play because you need each other to get through. So I guess it always comes back to team effort.
Millie, I'm conscious of the time and keeping you too long. Just one last question before we do the 4 questions for each and every guest. Actually, no, 2 if it's all right.
That's all right.
The juggle away from the field with roles with Westpac, obviously the foundation. You've got football in the mix, Triple M, Channel 9, up front, of course.
Yes.
How do you anticipate the juggle going once
with
the baby arrives? Because I imagine it's already quite difficult to keep those plates spinning. And
I feel like I've learnt over the years how to, and it's taken a long time. I'm talking like 10 years of, I used to do everything. I used to say yes to everything. I used to look at everything as an opportunity. I never used to care about like how much sleep I was getting or, I would still prioritize footy, but I was just like running myself silly. Now I feel like I prioritize my time a lot better in terms of saying no when I can't do things, trying to get and I also live in Newcastle. So it's like a lot of what I do is in Sydney. So it's like, I can't do it that day, but I can do it this day. So I can go bang, 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 get 3 things done on the one day. And then I can have my off day in Newcastle. Yeah. I'm sure when I have a baby that will all get flipped on its head, but I'm learning how to juggle everything a lot better. I still do a lot of things for sure, but I still have enough downtime where I can like recharge and move on. So yeah, it is.
And it's about to become even more.
It's about to become even more. I'll probably just get my mum to move down and help me, to be honest. That's the real answer.
I guess you're probably going to have to lean on those support networks.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we don't have any family living where we are. So definitely, trying to get some family to get closer. That might be a thing.
Obviously, Adam's in Newcastle as well. Like, do you envisage maybe moving to Sydney to make things easier?
Yeah, look, depending on... last year I lived with the girls in Coogee and I was there throughout the season and I'd go back to Newcastle here and there. But in between trainings and work, it just became I was in Sydney every day. So I guess I'll just cross that bridge when it kind of comes and we'll see. It depends on, where he ends up, whether he stays in Newcastle or leaves. Like, we don't know.
A lot of variables.
There's so many, you know what footy's like. It can just be like, 1 minute you're here and next you're like completely not like doing something totally different, which is the, I guess it's the pros and cons of the sport. It's hard to know where you're going to be. And I do like seeing psychics. So they tell me, I'm a big psychic girl. Yeah. I think it's a big girl thing. Like I think half of our team see psychics and then we're like, who's seen the psychic lately?
As in like the cards?
Not the cards. It's like they just...
Palm readers or...
No, they just sit here and they'd be like, you're just chatting and they can just read how you're going, what's happening, something big that's coming up. Like they're actually crazy. But I wouldn't say I put all my eggs in that basket. Keely does, but I don't. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when it comes, I think.
Look, we've barely spoken about your glistening career, but obviously again, conscious of the time. Fame and handling fame and being noticed.
Fame.
How'd you go about it?
Jeez. I wouldn't exactly call it fame. I think definitely within a rugby league,
but you would be recognised constantly, big following on socials, and that comes with a level of responsibility,
Yeah.
and being, and also, like any athlete, you have a shit performance or down the dump. Like, you know, how do you, at the age of 26, cope with all this? Like being on the Channel 9 coverage, being involved with Westpac, and being like the being a person in demand.
Yeah.
Look, it's sought after, but there's also
an expectation there. Yeah. I think, you know, we're in a position, I see it as a good thing. We're in a position where people actually, you know, some people care, and people we are in demand for some certain things and to speak at certain events or to give our 2 cents here and there. Like, that's never been the case, and I just see it as a positive thing. Like, where, how lucky am I that I'm in this position? Like, I used to, working for Channel 9, for instance, like I used to watch Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Joey, like these players Jonathan Thurston, Darren Lockyer, and now I'm like literally talking to them about how their kids are and how their weekend was, and it's like, how, like, I am literally, I remember when I met Fatty Vaughton for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's insane. Yeah. Like, I just feel so lucky, and I've got such a long way to go in that career. Like, live television is really hard. Like, when you've only get a short amount of time to speak about something that's on the TV screen, and you've got a producer in your ear, like, it's so different to just chatting footy or doing radio or podcasting. Like, it's so different. Like, it's a whole new challenge in itself, and it's like, you know, footy, but then sometimes you just don't. Like, it plays on your mind about how you're going to deliver it, and some people make it look ridiculously easy, and I think it's easier to take it. You know, Danica, for instance, she's a journalist and a host, but I'm like, Danica, it's easier for, like, it's like you put in your position, you taking a kickoff carry, you know? Yeah. That's how I'm feeling right now.
But do you enjoy the pressure, the expectation?
Yeah, no, I do, because
the responsibility,
I do, because it's an opportunity that wasn't there long ago. Like, it's a new way of being able to be involved in footy without playing footy, but it's also, it's challenging, and I like it. I get nervous. It's a bit scary. It's like,
takes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's out of your comfort zone.
It's on the line, one slip up, and know the internet's
it's like
go.
It's live. Yeah, exactly.
Dan Ganane, classic example on the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's all part of it. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying that part when it comes in the future. Hopefully that it feels a lot easier and it's a lot more comfortable. But I'm enjoying that uncomfortable position now, and you know, the more it's like just getting thrown in the deep end. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. And
how does it feel when people come and ask for pictures and photographs and autographs and all that? Yeah,
at footy, I feel like that's like, you get, now I'm kind of used to that, and I'm not saying that in a, you know, but it was very surreal. I'm like, why would you want my photo? Why would you want my, like it? Yeah, very, very surreal. That had never happened before until, you know, as the NRLW picked up, and I never would have thought anyone would care enough to want it. But it's all part of it. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I love it. It's so, like, it's very special when even when guys come up and say, can I get this photo for my daughter? I'm like, you know, it's very sweet. And that does, at footy, that does happen. Yeah. Like, if I'm watching Adam, or if I'm at the game, like whatever it is, if I'm working, it is, I think it's really cool to see how far it's come.
Yeah, that is very cool. We do the 4 questions from each and every guest. Got the dream spine, so you're 1, 6, 7, 9. Yeah.
So I actually did 2. I did a women's one, and then I did a male one.
Okay.
Because I thought you probably never had someone do a women's one, you know?
No, that's correct. You'd be very first
one.
So
fullback, I've got Tamika Upton. She's the best player in the game.
She is.
Halfbacks, it's pretty boring because it's like the Australian at the moment. But they're people I've played with, and I love. There's reasons I love playing with them, and it'd be Taryn Aiken and Ali Brigginshaw. Just they're very different, but they complement each other so well. And then Keely Davis in at hooker. She always
works. She's your mate.
You know what?
No,
but you know what? When we played against each other, I always hated playing against. Like she's just such a goer. You know.
It's funny that, isn't it, in sport, when you hate someone who you're against, and then you meet them and you're like, I feel all right.
And seeing how hard she works, like I always take the piss out of her, but seeing how hard, like all of those players that I've just mentioned, they would not miss a game. They're the biggest footy heads ever. Wouldn't miss a game. They listen to the bye round. Like they watch every stat. Like women love, like they love footy. And these ones in those I just play prop. So like sweet, catch the ball and tackle and run it up. No, I know. You know what I mean? But I'm not discounting being a prop.
I'm sorry.
I'm not discounting
I don't know what you mean.
Simple but not easy. I will say that. None of them could do it.
The hardest position to play if you're foolish enough to play it. Sorry.
Prop.
That's wrong. The easiest position to play if you're foolish enough to...
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was...
But like I couldn't imagine having to like run to every ruck and pass the ball. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate what they do, and I love seeing how much they love the game.
Yeah.
And they want to get better in their position every time. In the men's, I've gone bit of old school. I've gone Billy Slater, fullback. Loved watching him. So good. I've gone Cameron Smith at hooker. I think anyone who's played 7,000 games like he has and could have probably played on, you know, and left when he did is incredible. I've got Jonathan Thurston in at 6. Iconic. My favourite ever game, 2015 grand final. So good. Insane. Like, I remember it like it's yesterday, and I've still got goosebumps when I think about how that all played out. It's like a fairy tale. And then I've got Nathan Cleary in at 7. I just think I was tossing up between, like, I know everyone like Joey Johns, like, obviously it's hard to compare eras, isn't it? So it's either one of the two, but Nathan Cleary just for like 4 premierships in a row is just, and I know it's not all him, but he's a very large part of that. It's pretty
insane.
Pretty insane. So
our dream spines: Upton, Aiken, Brigginshaw, and Davis, Slater, JT, Cleary, Smith. Not bad.
Yes.
If footy didn't exist, what do you think you'd be doing now?
I think I would be boring. My boring answer is a school teacher. I went to uni and
props going to uni.
Yeah, it was really boring. But the uni I went to, I wanted to do teaching. It didn't offer it. I went to a private uni at Bond for a rugby scholarship. Long story short, they didn't do teaching. So I did sports management, and I would never be a sports manager. Let's just say that.
Watch out, Dave Prentice.
Yeah. My gosh. He'll clip that. No, I would never. That's just seems like the worst job ever. It's like along being a coach. But I don't know. I think I'm very passionate about the work that I do with the foundation, and I've always worked and volunteered, and it's always filled my cup. So whatever that looks like, I think I'd be doing something along that. But I feel like I don't work a day. Like I'm so lucky with everything that I do. It doesn't feel like work at all. I'm very lucky with all of the things that I get to do. Yeah,
well, that's a bit strange because I know Charlie's on the phone to you quite a lot, and it feels like work every time I'm with Charlie. So having him in my life makes it feel crash bang to reality.
I know.
Charlie.
Hearing you guys bicker before, it's like you're an old married couple before this kicked off.
We are a bit, aren't we? The most interesting person you've met on this journey so far?
So I had to have a real think about this one, and it's actually Ebony Bridges. So I met her in SAS. They call her the blonde bomber. For the first 3 days, like she talks she's from Mount Druitt. She's a boxer. She talks non-stop, like 100 miles an hour. It's hard to understand. Long story short, for the first 3 days, like Darbs and I and Barry, we were like, who the hell is this girl? Like, she's talking that much shit. Like, she thinks she's a big deal and whatnot. And then day 4, she became like our complete entertainment. Like everything, we were hanging off everything she was saying. It was hilarious. Anyway, another long story short, she was a maths teacher and then she was a ring girl, and then she used to sell her socks on like whatever these sites were, because people like these men would buy her socks. And then she would do FinDom, which we learnt in SAS was financial domination. You've ever heard of it? Yeah.
Whoa.
I know. She used to talk down to random men, and they called her pay pigs, and then they would pay her to talk down to them. I know. Interesting. I know. Then she goes on to
that's it, or
that's the
to
thing.
just talk down to them.
You are not worthy of my. She showed us all the messages. You are not worthy of my attention. Like, transfer me money, you peasant. Like that kind of stuff. And people pay money to hear her, like someone with a status talk down to them like her. Talk down to them. Anyway, and then.
That's a rabbit
she goes
hole
on.
I don't want to go
no,
down.
I know. It's so long.
I'm gonna, that's enough information.
No, I've got a few more things.
Go on.
Then she like wins this world title fight as an actual, like she's actually a boxer.
Yeah.
So she wins the world title fight. And I remember thinking, when I got out of SAS and I see she's nearly got 1 million followers and she's a big deal in London apparently, and in England, we realised she was. And then she steps on the scales in her weigh-ins in lingerie, where you can see pretty much everything, leaving nothing to the imagination. Legend of a chick to be also. She grew up in Mount Druitt from nothing, and she's now killing it. Then she gets sponsored by OnlyFans. She's one of the first people as an athlete to get sponsored by OnlyFans, and tattoos OnlyFans on her stomach in her lingerie. You know, she's killing it.
Yeah.
Anything to say?
What was it called again? Not that I need to look up.
FinDom. FinDom, which is short for financial domination, and they're called pay pigs because they are pigs that pay her. And this is all legitimate. You could search all this up. And now I'm
frightened of that coming up on my search history and where the ads might go.
It's probably in your algorithm right now. But
it's no doubt the phone is listening to me.
But actually, she's just had her first baby, and I'm gonna chat to her after this actually, because she's such a good person. I used to strap her ankle in SAS, and she made it to day 10, I think, and then she got pulled out because she was busted, but not by her own will. She's very, very determined.
Fair play. A sliding doors moment that you think about, maybe the alternative happening.
Yeah. Look, one sliding doors moment was when I went out in Surfers Paradise, and then Adam was out in Surfers Paradise, and we got together at White Rhino. What are the chances? And
well, you grew up in the same.
We grew up together, and I hadn't seen him in years. Imagine if I'm married now and pregnant with him, with his child.
It is funny how
it's pretty sliding doors.
It is. Yeah,
I lived on the Goldie. He moved up to the Goldie, and I hadn't been out in Surfers or to that place ever. Very weird.
Some things are just meant to be.
Some things are meant to be. You used to play with Adam.
I did.
I want to actually know. Sorry. Why did they call you? He's like, oh, with Booper. Why is your name Booper?
That was with myself and Aidan Tolman.
Oh, so he just jumped in on that, and everyone called you.
Yeah,
that.
so we were a bit of a look-alike.
Right.
Yes.
But why Booper? Is he get called?
There was an advert on...
like Booper Health Insurance?
Yeah. Oh. Like Find the Healthier You. So between me and Aidan Tolman, who were look-alikes.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that is a strange sliding... Well, you could argue, is it fate? Sliding doors?
I think it's a little bit of fate. We grew up his dad was my PE teacher at school. Grew up, we grew up very well aware of each other, but he was 4 years older than me, so it's a bit of a different, when he's 19 and I'm 15, it's probably a little bit different. Now? Yes, he's 30.
Jesus.
Don't say that. Anyway, an actual maybe sliding doors moment though I've got is, I'll try and sum it up quickly, but 2018, I wasn't playing footy because I was injured. I'd hurt my shoulder. I was playing a lot of rugby union, and I remember sitting on the lounge and watching the first State of Origin game for on Channel 9. It was just on telly. And I was thinking, what the hell? These chicks get to play Origin? How cool is that? I know half these people. I've played with them or in rugby, and I was like, I want to play that. And then I joined up to the Burleigh Bears. That was my local team, and I was playing rugby, so I guess it's not you know, it was still in that realm. But yeah, I joined up to the Bears, and I actually got picked for Queensland. Funny story. I got picked to play for Queensland because I was living in Queensland playing for Queensland at the Nationals. And I got picked for Queensland and New South Wales. But I chose, obviously, New South Wales because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
That's what you do. But anyway, yeah.
Perfect. Well,
they're very long-winded answers. You probably get some pretty quick ones there. And
I like it. At the buy round, what we drag people into deep water and just make them talk. I can't
even get up now. I need a breath.
You were scheduled for a sandwich about an hour ago.
My sandwich is probably,
it's going to be very cold
my South Dowling Sanger. You like them?
I prefer the banh mi place next door.
Oh, well, now we're not in Paddington.
I know,
so you gotta...
I know. I've got to find a new local place. Yeah. But I'm working on it. Meat Emporium. Not bad, actually.
Right.
They have a little cafe next
You don't
door.
like sandwiches?
Oh, no, I do.
They're below you?
No, I'm massive sandwich eater.
Like, you're not a bread eater?
No, I do. But the South Dowling sandwiches and that banh mi, the
banh mi is I love Vietnamese.
Just knocks out the park. That is the best.
I wouldn't say that, but I mean it is good.
Well, you know, there's no right or it's a complex thing.
That's it.
You know?
Yeah, there's opinions.
Millie, it has been great to talk to you. Looking forward to seeing how the next 6 months?
5.5 months. Yeah.
Transpire for you. Wishing you all the very best from everybody here at the buy round. And also going to be keeping a close eye on you for not saying the phrase back in my day when you finished playing. So
ever.
You heard it here. Thanks for joining us, Millie. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.